October 27th, 2025. Here are my current positions in my main account. Anytime you see a put, it's a cash secured put, except for Snow and SPY down here. SPY I may get stopped out on, even while recording this video, because there's some euphoria this week, I think, leading into the FOMC meeting. Not the end of the world. Learned my lesson there. On Snow, I did make profit day trading these puts, and now I'm holding until I see a bigger move downward from them. Some new stocks, SND. This is a frac sand company. I believe fracking will be a theme going forward for the next couple months. So I'm making a small bet there. This stock doesn't have much volume. And so the problem with low volume stocks is you can't really acquire it for a good price. So if it does break out, I might not see the full benefit of getting a full position on it because I'm not going to buy for more than 2.28. That's sort of my upper bound. In fact, I'm trying to get some shares lower than that. But there's just nobody buying or selling, so it's tricky. I also have a call on SND. We'll see what happens there. That's an interesting stock too. I'll show that off in a bit, but it's got the theme associated with it, energy, fracking, and it's got the possibility of a downtrend breakout. I might be early. We'll take a look at the chart. UUUU, uranium mining company, not profitable, but energies and nuclear is still an ongoing theme. ASST, that's the Bitcoin per share company. That's what their strategy is going to be. So I'm seeing it's steadily going up. So I'm going to keep holding that. Bull, looking awesome. Beyond, don't care. It could go to 0. We'll see. It could go to 100 in a year too. That's why I'm holding this. Oscar, solid AI health company. I only have cash secured puts on this. I do kind of wish one of them would get a sign so I can hold the shares, but we'll see what happens. SoFi, big green today. I did trim a little bit on SoFi. They have earnings tomorrow, and I like to not have full positions going into earnings. So we'll see how that goes. BCRX broke its upward trend line long enough for me to take some profit. It is going back into that trend line, so that could have been a fake out for people like me. But the good news is I did keep some leaps, so if it keeps going up, great. If not, then I'll have this stop out at break even. CMG, not much movement, not enough to make a difference here. And then I have some SPY puts that I think will get stopped out. There's some euphoria that I should have expected leading into the interest rate decision meeting on Wednesday, FOMC coming up. But I'm holding on just because I still think that it's going to go down a little bit. Now, I originally thought it would go down maybe to right here to maybe close the gap, but not all gaps must be closed. If you look at the volume here leading into this, it just doesn't jive. But if you look at the volume traded today, let's see, yesterday 3.6 million, 4.43 million, and then we had 3.837 million. Yeah, so I mean, the volume is similar to what was traded yesterday. That leads me to believe that there is some euphoria. There is, people still trading at this level. There is some interesting relative volume here, but to be honest, I'm not great at predicting where SPY goes. I do think down was the answer, but that's clearly not the case. Now the good news is, though, I did make while I am red on my SPY puts, I'm green on Snow. The reason for that is because the strategy that I use for this sort of trading is from the book Technical Analysis of the Financial Markets, and I forget who the author is, but basically, when you look at this, we're going from an ascending wedge, so in an uptrend, we go to an ascending wedge. That generally means that there's a decline in interest from people when it's at this level, and we have 2 solid points there. It did break above that trend line. When it broke above that, on the lower time frame, it's more obvious to see this. It kind of created this megaphone shape, this sort of opening up, widening triangle. That means increased volatility, and the fact that we're at a resistance line right here, and the fact that if you go zoom out on the time frame, The fact that we're sort of opening up in this shape means that increased volatility is expected. And so I would expect, I'm going to move this up here and change this, trim puts. What I would expect is I would expect it to hit this area up here and then eventually bounce down here. And I'm betting on it happening this week. If it doesn't happen this week, well, I can always stop out for a loss. I did not go heavy. But the good news is I already made a small profit day trading this. I caught a few scalps mostly. I think I caught this move right here. When it hit that line first, I sold, I bought it essentially when it hit that trend, that upper resistance trend line earlier in the day, and then sold it somewhere around VWAP. So I was green on that. So what else did I play today? So SND, I did some research on this company. It popped up in my scanner as a possible reversal. What is this stock though? I mean, it's frac sand production company. One of the other stocks that I looked at was PAM. That popped off significantly today, and I see we're getting a big retrace. No surprise. Maybe we'll start wedging and eventually break up or down. We'll see. But I'm betting on fracking being a big deal. The demand is going up, and frac sand is going to be useful. So, anyways, there's high relative volume in my scanner. I was able to confirm that. That said, the volume on this stock is usually low, and so I think it's riskier because the possibility of manipulation by big players is higher. So, just like how we're at the trend line right now, and we might break out, we might also just tank completely and go through all my levels. So my levels for this are pretty wide, honestly. I have one here. I think I need to add one more down here, right about here. And maybe one more right here. So if it were to break out, I would expect it to maybe bounce around here a little bit. We'll see how the volume goes. But if you look at this, this is a relative volume indicator. There's a lot of relative volume. That said, the actual volume is still pretty low, 12,000 per hour. That's a significant amount of volume for this stock. And so there's a lot of cases like this. This stock is very interesting because if you look at the 1 hour chart, you see like that one, that had 12,000 shares traded. Over here, we have 13,000 shares traded, but very little movement. You go back here, this support zone, and I circled some of these, 20,000 shares traded, and look how little it moved. So did they have an offering, or is this just someone accumulating very quietly? I like to think that it's someone accumulating very quietly in all these spots of high volume, very, very little movement. I like to think it's just someone accumulating because they expect frac sand to be in high demand. What other places am I looking at? Right here, 11,000 shares traded, very little movement again. These stand out just like a sore thumb. You look at each of these spikes, lots and lots of shares traded, and it's always around the same levels. So if we draw a little box here, this is really the accumulation zone. So whatever happens to the stock, whether it goes up or down, if it heads back down to this area, I'm going to load up more. And I kind of expect it to go down a little bit. We do have earnings. I believe that's going to be a catalyst for it to break out. Where's my stop then? Well, if we go down to, I'd say 1.7. Like I want to give it some space because I do see it did wick down in the past. But in the same breath, I don't want to lose a ton of money on this. In fact, let me draw the lower trend line right now. Let's see where the apex roughly would be. Yep. So it's all converging on earnings. Most likely we'll bounce between these 2 trend lines up until earnings, and then that'll either break us up or break us down. I'm betting on up just based on this accumulation that I'm seeing. I can't imagine this to be distribution at this price point. Because just like many of the stocks that I trade, very speculative, this is not financial advice, there's always an all-time high that's way off in the distance. So this one used to be close to 5. I mean, that'd be pretty nice. Let's look at the daily and the weekly. Let's go to the weekly. Geez. Yeah, so SND used to be at 21. Surely there were offerings, all that good stuff in the past, but this indicates to me, and they've been around for a little bit, 2017. This indicates to me that maybe they have a little bit of running to do after earnings. Because they've really just been bouncing around. I mean, this is the weekly chart we're looking at. Let's look at some of the volume spikes in the weekly chart. Weekly, it's not too crazy. Some double volume here right before dividends, sure. Some spikes downward. We're reaching a compression zone, and you know what? It's either going to go up or it's going to go down. It's not going to be in this compression zone for very much longer. That's my assessment of SND. BCRX, let's see. Should I have kept holding? Let's look at the 4-hour chart. And I have, oh, you know what? My trend lines look like they got messed up. Oh, no. What happened here is we started a new trend line that's a little shallower. So it was not beating the market anymore. So this indicator down here, free indicator, real relative strength. I wanted to see green on BCRX. That's why I originally got in the trade because, where was it? Well, I originally got in the trade because of accumulation, but what kept me in was when both QQQ and SPY were red last week, BCRX was nicely green. So perhaps people are moving their biotech money to tech stocks generally because those are up big today. I'm not sure. Regardless, it was enough for me to want to cut in my small account and cut a larger position in my main account as well. I do think it has still a lot of potential, so we'll see where it goes. But once it breaks my original trend line, that's my sign to get out. That said, what's going to keep me in on the leaps? When will I cut that? I think when I see high relative volume on a red candle. So I'm actually going to open this up. I'm going to set an alarm right now for just, anytime we see a volume spike on the 4-hour. Let's go with 4-hour. That's what's going to get me out. SoFi did trim. They have earnings coming up. I don't want to hold a full position in. I think they'll go to the moon, but earnings is a bit of a coin flip. Amazon, I'm still watching. I had planned for them to follow this trend line until earnings. I still think that's going to happen. You see today, big green day today, but Amazon is red. I mean, I think basically flat. It's not that red. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with Amazon. I do have an alert where I get a starter position, and it almost hit that alert. Dang it. So close. Because I was trying to get it in right when it closed this gap, but it looks like it closed the gap within just a little bit. So I should have set it higher in hindsight. But you know what? There's still a chance. It looks like on the 1-hour, I just switched to the 1-hour. It's still in a slight downtrend. So I'm going to keep watching this. We'll see if it continues to break down, and then I'll get into a starter position for earnings, and it'll be a leap. I'm not going to try to play earnings. The interesting thing here, I actually see pretty good relative volume on the 1-hour chart. That means that these are real moves downward. So I think what I'll do, I will still get a starter position here, but I think my thesis might be more accurate than I thought. We're going to see a downtrend, at least back to this circle right here. And if I have my way, it'll just follow this slope downward, and then maybe it'll bounce around a bit, and then I'll take off at earnings. Or we do have FOMC on Wednesday. That could be the catalyst that makes it go. So where's FOMC? Let's chart this in here as well. FOMC is I have it. It's in this circle right here. So let me clean this up, and I'll put a nice big circle where FOMC is at. So it'll be right in this circle. So if we do follow this downtrend line all the way to FOMC, then this is actually where I'll actually load a full position of Amazon Leaps. So then I'm ready to catch the next big move up. Let's see what tomorrow brings.